to buy for his brother. Suddenly, an object fell from the sky and caused an explosion, causing widespread panic in the area. As he tried to flee, multiple beams of light descended upon the city, destroying buildings and injuring many people. Suho ran in the opposite direction, narrowly avoiding being hit by a truck. However, a mysterious portal suddenly opened and sucked him in. Upon waking up, Park Sooho found himself in a forest with two moons and flying creatures in the sky. He was shocked and confused by the strange surroundings. Suddenly, he witnessed a giant bear being killed by a pack of wolves. He tells his story while the doctor listens to him and asked him how did he come back alive from there. He hid behind some rocks but noticed a wolf pup behind him. He continued to run, but a message appeared indicating that his constitution had increased by 1. He tripped and fell off a mountain while still trying to comprehend the message. He saw some fruits and attempted to eat them, but then noticed eyes in the grass and froze. A giant snake lunged at him but was attacked by a large frog before it could reach him. After this, Park Sooho lost consciousness. On the 67th day of being stranded, he was sitting high up in the trees trying to evade the wolves that were waiting for him below, and he was looking for a safer place to stay. After being stranded for 1 year, he was picking a giant banana, and as he ate it, he noticed a wolf pup that had been following him. Suddenly, a giant gorilla attacked him from above. He managed to dodge the attack, but the gorilla fell from the tree, and unfortunately, the pup was injured in the fall. The gorilla then turned its attention to the pup. Suho jumped on the gorilla's head and stabbed it in the eyes. The gorilla threw him off, injuring him severely. He reflected on his actions and realized that they were impulsive and reckless. The doctor questioned him about his behavior, and he explained that he couldn't always avoid territorial conflicts as it wouldn't solve anything. He acknowledged that there is a leader or ruler in every situation and that he couldn't avoid conflict forever. The gorilla charged at him, but the wolves came to his defense and attacked the gorilla. Suho lost consciousness, thinking he was going to die, but the wolves didn't harm him. He surmised that the wolves must have thought that he had saved the pup. It turned out that the pup was the son of the Wolf King, the leader of the Crimson Wolves. In the second year of being stranded, the wolves had accepted him into their pack. As 31st year passed, he was fighting giant snakes with the wolves, and he still hasn't seen any signs of civilization. He considered the wolves as family, as they fight for territory and survival together. After 120 years of being stranded, Park Sooho believed that he was the only human on the planet. He had been constantly fighting for survival and had made and lost friends over time. He had lost track of how much time had passed. The doctor asked him how he was able to return to Earth. He explained that during a war with the gorilla race, a portal opened. Meanwhile, a group of people were investigating an area as their equipment had malfunctioned when suddenly a red portal opened. They panicked and ran away, not knowing what was coming out of it. The two people were terrified, but the woman among them was already preparing for a fight and ordered them to flee. She was ready to attack whatever emerged from the portal, but when she saw a man coming out of it, she froze upon seeing his eyes. The man shouted as he emerged. As Park Sooho emerged from the portal, he fell unconscious. The group was confused, and the woman among them wondered what pressure she had felt. She realized that she had never experienced anything like it, even when fighting monsters in high-tier dungeons. The group reported the incident as a returner coming back and called for an ambulance. The doctor finished the interview with Suho and thanked him for his story. The doctor informed Suho that his story will be shared with the Awakener Bureau and he will be discharged in a few days. Suho thanked the doctor for listening as it was his first conversation with another human in 1,000 years. The doctor replied that they should be thanking him as he shared a valuable story with them. The doctor found Suho's story to be quite interesting. At the Awakener Bureau, the woman questioned whether the information on Suho was accurate as he was ranked as an F, equivalent to an average person. She was curious as to how Suho went through the portal and was still unsure if he truly was an F rank. The man speculated that perhaps Suho had simply gotten lucky and come across a return stone. They received the report from the doctor and passed it on to the woman. The report indicated that Suho had PTSD, which was common among returners, and that he behaved like a wolf. The woman volunteered to personally deliver the documents to Suho as she wanted to verify something. At the hospital, Suho realized that 2 weeks had passed since he returned and everything felt unfamiliar. He wasn't sure what to do. A nurse came in and gave him his meal. A woman named Choi Soo-young from the Awakener Bureau entered the room and saw Suho eating like an animal. She introduced herself and mentioned that she was the first person he saw when he returned. Sooyoung initially thought Suho looked like a predator when he came out of the portal, but now she thought she must have been mistaken. Suho asked Choi Sooyoung about the Awakener Bureau. She explained that it's a government organization that helps returners adjust to society and gave him a list to sign. He was surprised when he saw a pen and smelled it, but she scolded him for drawing on the paper. She thought he was an idiot. She asked him what he had learned during his time away, like magic or martial arts, but he told her that he had just lived in a forest. She sighed as she thought he had just spent all 10 years running to survive. She believed that for a true returner, they needed to kill monsters and steal their energy. She thought Suho had just gotten lucky by finding a return stone in a peaceful dimension. Suho clarified that it wasn't 10 years, but rather that he had been in the jungle for 1,000 years. Sooyoung was annoyed and told him that he went in 2015 and returned in 2025. Suho was shocked by this information. She gave him his Awakener's card and told him that his bill would be paid and to read his documents. She also instructed him to return to his family after he had recovered and then left. He was shocked when he saw his family are still alive. Suho accepted that all of his friends and family had already passed away after 1,000 years had passed, and that upon his return to Earth, he had also lost the forest family he spent 1,000 years with. Suho discovered that his parents had died the same day he entered the portal, but his brother Junho was still alive. He immediately asked the doctor to help him leave the hospital because of this. The doctor rejected his request, but Suho insisted that he wasn't asking for permission. The doctor agreed to help, but only on one condition. The doctor arranged for a taxi to take Suho and gave the driver instructions. The nurse asked the doctor why he was helping Suho, and the doctor replied that he wanted to hear more of Suho's story and also wanted someone to fix the door handle that was mangled. The nurse was confused about how the handle had been damaged. The doctor realized that it had been a while since he had met an irregular person like Suho. Suho saw a broadcast of two Awakeners fighting on television. The driver exclaimed that if he were an Awakener, he would quit and make money hunting in the fields. Suho asked about the hunting grounds in Seoul. The driver explained that 10 years ago, doors to other worlds opened around the world. It was called the Day of the Great Disaster. On a fateful day, Earth became connected to numerous other realms and was overrun by monstrous creatures, resulting in a loss of 10% of the global population. The military was unable to effectively combat the invaders. People who disappeared during the disasters are called Awakeners. They were given mercenary licenses, giving them permission to hunt monsters. The Awakeners formed guilds and make money by hunting fields or dungeons. Suho inquired about becoming a mercenary, to which the driver responded that he would have to first awaken and then pass the mercenary examination at the Awakener Bureau. Suho found the process to be too complex. Upon arriving at the designated location, as indicated by the driver, Suho made his way to the building. An elderly woman questioned him about his identity, to which he replied that he was searching for someone named Junho. The woman informed him that no one by that name resided there and chased him away. He later learned that they had mistaken him for a loan shark and that his brother was heavily in debt. Suho observed the numerous letters demanding payment and walked away, reflecting on how in harsh wild environments, strength is the law, while in civilized society, money holds power. Suho attempted to submit a mercenary application but was denied due to not meeting the necessary qualifications. The staff informed him that he was lacking 4 Awakener points as an F rank. They suggested he attend an Awakener school or earn points through field experience and reapply later after awakening. Suho came across an advertisement for a goblin field in Suwon and headed there. Upon approaching the gate, the guards asked for his purpose. He responded that he was there to hunt. The guards then asked for his mercenary license, but Suho did not have one and was told that civilians are not permitted in the field. Suddenly, a car came out of nowhere and crashed because a goblin was attacking the passengers. The guards responded quickly and surrounded the vehicle. The goblin came out and the guards fired, killing it. They searched for Suho but thought he got scared and ran away. Suho entered the hunting ground and felt a sense of familiarity. He observed the area and wondered if all cities other than Seoul had been turned into ruins. As darkness arrived, he decided it was time to hunt. He felt that his body was a bit heavy as he jumped, ran, and climbed buildings. He thought it was an effect of returning and that he was weaker now. Suho stood on top of a building and surveyed his surroundings. He found a group of goblins surrounding a wounded white dog. The goblins were about to attack, so Suho intervened and stopped them. He smashed the first goblin's head and multiple error messages appeared. He was confused seeing the messages as he swiped them away. The other goblins attacked at the same time, but he easily defeated them. One goblin tried to run away, but Suho grabbed and threw it on the floor. A critical error message appeared. Then remembered that 100 years ago his body was trained to the limit and he barely got any stat increase alert. He wondered if the error was the reason his abilities weakened. A message appeared that he had gained access to the achievement shop. He thought if this was because he had awakened. Suho looked at his points and saw that he only had 7 points and could only buy bread and water. He saw the white dog lying there wounded and dying beside her pup. He approached it and understood that it was trying to tell him to take care of its pup. He gave the pup some food. He counted the goblins he killed and found that he got 7. He thought that he really needed a car. He buried the dog and when morning came, he decided it was time to leave. People were busy at the entrance, but they were shocked when they saw Suho carrying the goblins he had killed. The guard was shocked as he recognized Suho from earlier. At the office, the staff was tallying Suho's kills and heard about the blood crystals. She explained that they came from one of the goblins and their prices depend on the amount of energy stored in the crystal. She gave him cash as he doesn't have a payout account registered and advised him to get registered. Suho thought that it would be easy to make money once he becomes a mercenary and enters a dungeon. Meanwhile, Junho was on his way home when a group of thugs attacked him. It was the debt collectors who beat him as he paid the monthly payment. The thug counted the money but told him it wasn't enough. The guy hit him again when he said he would pay them in 3 days. Suddenly, Suho came looking furious as he approached the surprised Junho. Junho remembered a past incident where he was being bullied in school and had reached out to his brother, Suho, for help, but Suho had ignored him and walked away, believing that his brother would not be of much help to him. On the day of a disaster, Junho's aunt and uncle came to take him away as they were unable to contact their mother. As they were leaving, an explosion occurred, killing them both. Junho then saw that there were monsters outside and didn't care about what happened to his brother. As they were talking, the collector mocked them, but Suho defended them by grabbing the collector by the head and throwing him away. He then asked Junho if he was okay. When one of the guys attacked with a kick, his leg broke on Suho's head, causing the man to fall to the ground in pain. The other guy was scared seeing Suho was an awakener. Suho called the other guy over and paid him cash as he told him to take the money and leave. They then left and went to Junho's house. Junho introduced Suho to an old lady and they went inside the house where they saw Gunwoo, Junho's son, asleep. Suho asked where the mother was and Junho told him that she had already left. As they sat at the table, Junho told Suho that he had thought he was dead and expressed surprise that he was an awakener. Suho inquired about the amount of Junho's debt and Junho informed him it was 50,000. However, he reassured Suho that he can pay it off since he had secured a job at a logistics center where the pay was good. Suho questioned if the truck belonged to Junho and he replied that it actually belonged to the old lady's deceased son that had died in the great disaster and she had lent it to him. Gunwoo then woke up and greeted Suho. Suho then offered Junho the opportunity to work with him and assist him in hunting. The staff were taken aback by the fact that Suho had awakened and managed to enhance his status within a day. They informed him that he could use his Awakener ID to open an account and provided him with a phone for registering as an Awakener. They reminded him to download the Awakener Bureau app as it would have information about exams and hunting. They then demonstrated to him how to access his status screen. Once he saw his stats, he was perplexed by the fact that some of his stats were too low. Suho located the nearest dungeon, the Namyangju Gate, and decided to go there. In the car, the 3 people in the back were nervous on entering the dungeon. The driver assured them that they can become part of the Shilla Guild's raiders if they cleared this mission. The other man was pissed as these people only relied on their connections to get here. One of the guard was worried seeing Suho enter alone without any equipment. The guard told him that it was fine as he recognized him as the one who killed 7 goblins in Gate 27 yesterday. The people in the car thought Suho was crazy. The man told the driver to hurry up and follow Suho, but when they turned the corner Suho was already gone. The other man thinks that he found something interesting. Meanwhile, Suho was running at full speed and realized he had become weakened and needed to train again. He heard sword clashing in the distance and decided to investigate. Upon arriving, he saw a group of people robbing 3 individuals. Suddenly, a large man appeared and one of the victims recognized him as Choi Gushik, a man with a high bounty on his head. Initially, Suho was going to walk away, but upon hearing the amount of the bounty, he changed his mind. The 3 individuals were terrified as Choi Gushik charged at them. But then Suho appeared, surprising everyone. Suho approached Gushik and told him he needed money. Gushik laughed and used his skill on Suho, rendering him unable to move. Gushik explained that by looking into his eyes for 5 seconds, he was able to paralyze him and then ordered his men to take care of Suho. Despite being paralyzed, Suho weakly punched Gushik, wondering if it was magic and finding it intriguing. Gushik used another skill called Bind to stop Suho's attack, then pulled out a knife with the intention of attacking. But Suho kneed him in the face and asked if he had anything better. Gushik attempted to use Bind again, but Suho punched him in the face and delivered multiple punches to his body before throwing him through a building, finding it uninteresting. Suho asked Gushik's men if they wanted to fight, but they surrendered. Suho instructed the individuals being robbed to tie them up. Suho asked the robbers how much their bounties were, but they denied having any and told him that Gushik was the only one with a bounty. Gushik cursed upon hearing this, calling them traitors. One of the people he saved told Suho that they were lying and that they were all criminals and likely had bounties on them. He advised Suho to hand them over to the authorities. Gushik offered to team up with Suho, but Suho knocked him unconscious by kicking him in the face. The people he saved offered to use their car to transport the criminals, and Suho put them all to sleep. Inside the car, the 3 people thanked Suho for saving them and told him about their skills, explaining that they had learned them from skill books. Suho found this interesting. The driver was confused as to why Suho didn't know about these things. Suho decided to learn a few skills, as he may need them in the future. Suho pointed out the portal as the driver confirms and that they intended to go there. Suho wanted to go, but he doesn't have his mercenary license yet. The driver was shocked hearing this and found it unbelievable for a rookie to defeat a seer anchor like Choi Gushik. The driver asked Suho's rank, he answered he was rank F, which surprised everyone. Suho then asked him a favor. Meanwhile, the people from the Shilla Guild emerged from a portal, one of them was injured, and the leader was furious thinking that licenses were being given away to weaklings. He said that people with money can easily become awakeners, all they need to do was deliver a killing blow to the monsters that the brokers have captured for them, then hire mercenaries to carry them through the dungeons, join a guild and go on missions. But the people with them suffer as these people are inexperienced in battle. The captain exclaimed that he doesn't like these kinds of people, but his subordinate calmed him down and invited him for a drink. The captain asked about the level 1 dungeon that was about to disappear, and one of the soldiers informed them that someone had handed over 10 ravagers to them, including the sea ranker, Choi Gushik. The captain was surprised and thought that some higher anchor must have done it. The soldier told him it was done by a newbie F ranker who didn't have a mercenary license. The soldier continued that the F ranker had just defeated Choi Gushik and broke his ribs and face. The captain remembered the man they had gone after earlier and asked the soldier where the F ranker had gone. The soldier replied that they had gone through a portal. The captain ran back and wanted to see for himself, he felt that he was onto something. The captain asked the operator which door Suho used. Meanwhile, Suho just entered a portal and was amazed that his clothes were fine. The guy with him explained that those clothes are made with materials found in dungeons and that they were expensive. The door closed behind them, and the guy with him explained that it will open once they clear the dungeon by killing the boss. Suho told the guy to wait as he jumped away. The guy was stunned seeing Suho's strength and thought he might set a record for clearing the dungeon, but then he remembered that Suho doesn't have a search skill and worried that he wouldn't be able to find the door location, resulting in them being trapped inside as he chased after him. Suho attacked a group of goblins and took away the blood crystals and made raising his level a priority. The guy saw the bodies of the goblins and was surprised he used track to find Suho. Suho was checking his stats and saw that he has 102 achievement points and can buy 2 skills with it. He chose the Tame Beast skill. Suddenly a group of goblins attacked him from behind, but he easily defeated them, which gave him more achievement points. A critical error message appeared and saw his stats increase. He bought the other skill, Summon a Tree Spirit, and tested it out. He ordered the fairy to look for the remaining goblins, and he found out that the spirit sends the information it sees to him. He also bought the track and search skills with his remaining points. He heard something and headed to that direction as he saw a goblin was attacking his companion. The guy asked for his help as Suho jumped in, pushing the goblin back. Before the goblin can attack, Suho rushed in and attacks, sending it crashing to the walls. He delivers the finishing blow as he levels up and got 120 achievement points. Suho's companion was surprised to see how easily the boss was killed. Suho confirmed if the doors will be opening, and his companion answered that they should be. They exited the dungeon as the guards called Captain Kang after seeing them. His companion thanked him and left. After changing his clothes, Captain Kang greeted and introduced himself as captain of the 27th Combat Team from the Shilla Guild. The captain invited Sooho to join their guild and promised the best environment for his growth. Sooho immediately rejected him. The captain thought that Sooho just wanted to increase the offer. He tried to convince Sooho with another offer. Sooho stopped by saying that he doesn't like working under someone. At home, Sooho gave Junho money to pay off his debt and told him to settle it so they could eat later. Junho was grateful and tearfully thanked Sooho before leaving. Meanwhile, Sooho noticed that he could name the pup and he chose the name Baekdu. Then he looked at the pup's stats. After some time, Junho came home and Sooho and Gunwoo welcomed him, but they were shocked to see that Junho was injured and covered in blood. He collapsed to the ground and they ran to him in concern. In the loan shark's office, they were discussing something when they heard a commotion outside. Suddenly, the door opened and one of the men tried to speak, but he was pulled away. The thugs tried to investigate what was happening, but they were stopped when one of their members was thrown at them. Sooho then entered, carrying a closet and threw it at the thugs, injuring everyone. The boss was terrified as Sooho kicked over his table, crushing him. Sooho asked if he was Kim Jing-soo, and Jing-soo confirmed it. Sooho then laid an envelope on the table and told Jing-soo that he would pay off Junho's debt. Jing-soo tried to threaten Sooho, but he was slapped multiple times by Sooho while being told why they had to beat up Junho and that they just needed to take the money. The boss begged for mercy and Sooho asked him if he would settle the debt or be slapped to death. The boss chose to settle and the group knelt in front of Sooho, announcing that Junho's debt was now cleared. Sooho told them that he didn't want to see them again. After Sooho left, the boss was furious and began planning his revenge. Sooho visited Junho at the hospital and found he was recovering well. Junho reminded him about his mercenary exam tomorrow and told him that it will be nice if he passed and joined a big guild. Sooho thought it was impossible to work under someone as he was the king of the forest. Sooho told him that he will be making his own guild. At the Awakener's bureau, Sooyoung was getting scolded by her superior for not performing her job properly. She was then assigned to be one of the supervisors of the mercenary exam and was told not to reject everyone as she left the room in anger. At the exam location, one guy was streaming while he waited for the exams to start. Then the guy noticed Sooho standing beside him and Sooho asked who he was talking to earlier. The guy was annoyed, but Sooho found him funny. The head supervisor greeted everyone and introduced himself and the 21 supervisors. Every examinee was hoping to be assigned to a good supervisor, with many specifically hoping to avoid the one known as the witch, who had failed half of the applicants assigned to her. The examinees were assigned to supervisors based on the number given to them and were told to line up in front of their designated supervisor. The guy earlier named Han Ding-soo and Park Sooho were both assigned to supervisor number 15. Sooho was surprised when he saw that Sooyoung was their supervisor, as she also noticed him. After, they were told to go to their waiting room. Ding-soo lost hope as he thought he was going home early. Sooho asked him why he was gloomy. Ding-soo told him why, explaining that their supervisor was called the witch because she fails applicants if she has a bad day. Sooho told Ding-soo that it's not the supervisor's fault and that it's because he was unprepared for the exam. Ding-soo was angry as he glared at Sooho, but Sooho invited him to solve the problem like men and fight. Ding-soo stood up and told Sooho to follow him. Meanwhile, Ding-soo and Sooho were in a ring while the other examinees watched. Ding-soo showed off his boxing abilities with the intention of teaching Sooho a lesson. However, Sooho found it amusing. Ding-soo attempted to attack but was stopped by Sooyoung's arrival. She instructed everyone to return to the waiting room. Ding-soo attempted to explain himself, but she silenced him and stated that she only needed one person to take the blame and that it would be the loser. She encouraged them to fight. Ding-soo asked Sooho not to hold a grudge against him, but Sooho apologized for what was about to transpire. Ding-soo attacked, but Sooho countered and knocked him out. Sooyoung was shocked and had thought that Sooho was the source of her discomfort since she saw him come out of the portal. Sooho interrupted her thoughts and asked if she also wanted to fight him, but only under the condition that if he won, she wouldn't disqualify Ding-soo. Sooyoung thought Sooho was insane and entered the ring. She asked if he was an irregular, but Sooho was confused by the term. She promised to explain it to him if he survived the fight. She swung a punch at Sooho, but he dodged and blocked her next attacks. As they continued to fight, she told Sooho that if he won, she would grant him one wish in addition to his original request. She threw a kick and suspected that Sooho was keeping something hidden. Sooho was impressed with her strength and praised it. She continued to attack, but Sooho was able to dodge them. She then began throwing punches and kicks, which Sooho countered with a punch. However, she used a shield to block it, but the shield shattered and pushed her back. Sooho charged at her, enjoying the fight. She believed that Sooho was an irregular, and when he was close to her, she raised her hand and surrendered. Sooho was confused, but she explained that the space was too small for her to use her full abilities and suggested they continue the fight at another time. She asked him what he wanted. Sooho inquired if there were many strong women like her on Earth. She replied that there were not many. He then suggested that they make babies together. She slapped him in response and left, calling him crazy. He considered leaving himself as he felt he had lost the fight and blamed Sooho for getting him disqualified. Sooho explained that he was not disqualified. In an office, a man was surprised to see Sooyoung's loss as he had been watching the fight on camera. Ding-soo was confused and Sooho explained to him that he had asked Sooyoung to overlook his disqualification. Ding-soo then wondered why Sooyoung had slapped him and thought it was his fault. He cried and referred to Sooho as his big brother. Suddenly, they heard that Sooho was being summoned to the supervisor's office. Sooho met with the man who had observed his fight with Sooyoung and informed him that their conversation would be recorded. The man revealed that he was shocked to see Sooho fight a beer rank awakener and questioned if he was an irregular. The man then explained about bridge portals that connect Earth to 3 other planets, one of which is Asura, where dwarves and elves live in harmony with Earth. Earthlings who have returned from Asura have acquired skills related to magic and artifact crafting. The next planet is Guchian, which is inhabited by Mammons and martial artists. The martial artists are allies of Earth, while the Mammons are Earth's enemies. Lastly, there is Mid-Earth, a planet ruled by orcs and overrun with vicious monsters, and whenever a portal opens to Mid-Earth, an all-out war is expected to occur. The Earthlings who came back from these planets, there are people who learned powerful skills and whose combat abilities exceeded those of Awakeners are called Irregulars. Sooho found it complicated and was certain that the place he went to wasn't one of those planets. Though was thinking if Sooho was just a dungeon returner that doesn't explain how he can fight a beer anchor. Then asked Sooho what kind of planet he came back from. Sooho told his story. The man thanked him and told him to head back to the waiting room. After Sooho left the office, the man was surprised by Sooho's story and called in a soldier to take over as supervisor number 15 and ordered him to monitor Sooho and provide a detailed report after the exam was over. In the exams, Ding-soo passed the 100-meter dash and Sooho came in next, surprising everyone with his speed. The major received a call with Sooho's exam results and sent a video to Kim Mizo of the Returner Bureau, instructing her to watch it immediately. Kim Mizo's assistant informed her that the major was able to detect lies and that the interview Sooho had with the doctor was true. She realized that Sooho came from a 4th planet and ordered for the reporters to be removed from the training grounds, but it was too late as the assistant had already seen an article about Sooho. She ordered for it to be taken down as well. Kim Mizo was contemplating that Sooho was able to maintain his physical condition after passing through the portal without protective gear and was given an F rank due to a lack of dimensional energy. She also considered that if Sooho was truly from a 4th planet, Korea might gain an advantage in the development of the unknown 4th planet. Meanwhile, the reporters were being prevented from contacting Sooho. As they were eating, Ding-soo observed Sooho and realized that he was on a different level and believed that Sooho would become popular. In the waiting room, only 2 of them were left, and Ding-soo assumed that only 2 of them had passed the exam and worried that they would be in trouble for the next exam, which would involve raiding dungeons and would require more members. Sooho reassured him and told him not to worry. Ding-soo was thinking that if Sooho performed well on the raid, top guilds would be interested in recruiting him. Sooho then invited Ding-soo to join his clan, as he didn't plan on joining a guild. Ding-soo had an idea that if he made a video documenting the founding of a clan and going on raids, it would be a big opportunity for him. Ding-soo agreed while he cried and told Sooho that they need 3 people to form a clan. A monk suddenly enters the room and introduced himself as Myeongjin. They heard an announcement telling the applicants to change to their battle suits and assemble in the briefing room in 30 minutes. The monk told them that examiners occasionally hold dungeon raids at night without notice. Ding-soo exclaimed and found it insane. The group was given information about the dungeon they were going to raid and found out it was under the protection of the Phoenix Guild. Sooho asked for clarification on what under protection meant. Dingsu was surprised Suho didn't know and explained that portals to other dimensions were appearing all over the city and the government was struggling to deal with them. The government had hired groups, called guilds, to manage and protect different areas of the city and gave them the authority to process the dimensional energy from the dungeons they controlled. Suho understood and realized he had only wanted to create his own clan because he missed hunting with his old pack. He was happy to be able to have a place of his own while doing it. Dingsu added that it's beneficial to own a dungeon as you don't have to pay to use it. Suho informed the group that their ultimate goal was to form a guild, but Dingsu interjected by saying that they first needed to pass the mercenary exam. The dungeon they were about to raid had only 15 days left before it broke, and it was a labyrinth-type dungeon with the lowest difficulty and fewest monsters among all dungeons. Dingsu expressed concern that they could get lost in the labyrinth, but Suho reassured him that he had search skills. Dingsu inquired about the monk's abilities, and the monk remembered his past experience that with his skill, monsters of all types came to the temple. One of the monks had warned him to stop and advised him to take the priest and evacuate, but it was too late as a monster had already ambushed from behind. Myeongjin was startled after the briefing was finished. On their way to the portal, the supervisor instructed them to ignore him and continue with their mission once they entered, and reminded them that even if they successfully cleared the dungeon, their individual scores could still fail. As soon as they entered the dungeon, a skeleton attacked Suho, but he easily defeated it. Dingsu reminded Suho to use his search skills while progressing. However, the monk accidentally triggered a trap and arrows were launched at them. Myeongjin stepped forward and blocked the arrows with his staff. Dingsu complimented Myeongjin's proficiency with his staff, but, unfortunately, he also stepped on a trap and they all fell to a lower level of the dungeon. They heard the monsters coming. And the monk apologized that his skill was an AoE taunt. Suho approved as he was too lazy to look for the monsters. Suho kicked the ceiling and jumped up and invited the monk to join their clan. He used his search skill and found the traps, then charged onto the wave of monsters. When the monk and Dingsu came out of the hole, they saw the pile of bodies Suho left behind. Suho told them to follow him and take care of the knockdown monsters. The supervisor was impressed that Suho was using the traps to his advantage. One skeleton tried to attack Suho from above, but the monk threw his staff, killing it. The soldiers saw that someone returned from the dungeon. One was confused, saying that dungeon will take 5 hours to finish and only 30 minutes have passed. They saw it was Park Sooho's team. The supervisor informed them that they finished the dungeon and watched the video, and it will be hard to measure their stats in a level 1 dungeon. Dingsu was streaming for his blog about the Suho clan and gave a tour of the clan house, introducing Granny Sukjev and the monk Myeongjin. Later in the day, they entered a dungeon and saw many bats, and Dingsu asked if they had long-range skills to catch them. Myeongjin told them to leave it to him and used his skills to lure the bats to them. The bats came to Myeongjin and he used his fire wheel skill to kill them. The boss came out and Suho killed it instantly with one shot, clearing the dungeon. Kim Mizo received updates on the progress of Suho's group, who were completing dungeons 20 times daily. She remembered Lee Sungwoo, a Korean irregular who had transferred to Japan, and decided to contact Suho directly. At the clan house, they were searching for Myeongjin, who did not show up for work that day. Junho reassured Suho that it was okay to take a break and informed them that the team had qualified to advance to a higher level and had earned enough money to enter level 2 dungeons. Dingsu was excited about the potential earnings. Suho agreed to let the team rest for the day and invited Junho to go shopping for a new truck. They purchased the latest model and headed to a field to aid in Junho's awakening. Junho was nervous and wants to leave, but Suho came out of the car and jumped away. The loan sharks were watching a video of the Suho clan. The boss asked for the list of guilds they are funding and remembered a guy called Manager Choi. They found him perfect for making people disappear as he already erased 6 people. The boss ordered to contact him and give him however much he wants for the job. Kim Mizo arrived in the Suho clan and found Granny Sukja and introduced herself from the returner's bureau. In the car, Junho was nervously waiting for Suho, but suddenly a goblin dropped on the car as Suho ordered him to get out of the car. Suho gave him a knife and told him to kill it and follow him. Junho was having second thoughts about awakening, but Suho told him he won't survive if he is weak and orders him again to kill it. Suho ordered Baekgu to attack and bite the goblin. Baekgu bit the arm of the goblin. Suho told Junho that Baekgu can't kill the goblin and that if he didn't attack Baekgu will die. Junho stabbed the goblin and it released Baekgu. While Suho orders him to repeat. Junho kept stabbing and saw the blood on his hands. Suho told him that if he doesn't kill he will die and told him to follow while killing the other goblins. Junho saw Suho walking away and remembered the time he abandoned him. He picked up the knife and stabbed the goblin in the head and kept stabbing its body. He laughed crazily seeing the blood. A goblin jumped at him causing him to fall. He stabbed it in the neck. Junho was mumbling like a psycho and Suho saw his information window showing butcher and found it cute. He invited Junho to come up to clean up the rest. They went to the Awakener's bureau with Junho covered with blood, making the staff nervous, and told them to clean up first and get quarantined, and to head to the third floor to measure their dimensional energy. Suho explained to Junho that his dimensional energy needs to be more than 100 to be registered as an F-rank Awakener and be qualified to take the mercenary exam. Junho's measurement was 111 was told to go to the ability manifestation room. Suho went next, but he saw multiple eyes observing him. He stood up in shock. The doctor compliments him and said that he will reach E rank soon. Suho asked who made the machine. Junho received his certificate of awakening and Suho congratulated him. Suho asked if Junho felt anything strange during the examination and Junho replied no. Suho asked about Junho's awakened skill, which is called decapitation. On the way out, they saw Sooyoung with her squad and Suho attempted to apologize, but she stopped him and said she didn't want to see him again, then left. Sooyoung's squad laughed, thinking Suho had been dumped. Kim Mizo was speaking with Granny when Suho arrived. She introduced herself and stated that she had come to present him with a contract. She explained about the human coordinate and how Suho had returned through a red portal. She told him that the conditions were met for success, as the return of a returner is the signal for success. Kim Mizo also informed Suho that the portal would open again, acting as a bridge for coming and going. Suho asked where and Kim Mizo directed him to the coordinate. Suho thought that he might have the chance to meet his wolf friends again. Kim Mizo explained that the bureau suspects that the planet Suho came from is the fourth new planet. If this is true, Korea would be the only country with a bridge portal to that planet, which may appear in 99 days. Suho asked what they wanted from him, and Kim Mizo said that they want him to stay in the country until the portal appears, and they don't want him to become another Lee Sung-woo. Suho asked who that was, and Kim Mizo explained that Lee Sung-woo is the current rank 1 Akita hero, who is originally Korean, but he escaped from government facility during the early days of disaster. The Japanese government approached him and he moved to Japan. Now, the 9,000 planet gates in Tokyo are because of him. She also mentioned that if the portal opens while he is abroad, it would cause a significant loss for Korea. Suho understands the situation and asked what he will get in return. Kim Mizo replied by asking what he wants. Suho stated that he wants the promotion of the Suho Guild and exclusive territory for the guild. Ding-soo, who was listening, was shocked. Kim Mizo asked if he has any more requests and asked him to write them in detail. Suho asked how to know if a portal is about to open, and she replied that they will dispatch an agent of the bureau, a specialized agent in dimensional energy cracks. Meanwhile, Sooyoung is angry as she remembers Suho's face while kicking and punching the heavy bag, while saying she should have sent Suho to jail for harassment. Kim Mizo arrived and told her to go on a dispatch. Sooyoung was unhappy when she was assigned her mission and expressed her frustration to Mizo. Mizo explained that they cannot allow a portal to open in a populated area and instructed Sooyoung to take Suho and leave the area immediately if she detects any signs of a dimensional crack. And to stay close to him at all times. Ding-soo was pleased as their guild passed the evaluation and was now able to enter level 2 dungeons. Junho suggested that it would be best to continue focusing on level 1 dungeons as they were still short on personnel. Suho decided to earn money by completing the level 1 dungeon and leveling up through skill books. Myungjin arrived and they set off for the dungeon together. At the entrance, they ran into Jeshik, who was on a different team. Suho asked why, but Jeshik didn't respond and instead told them he had to go, saying goodbye before rejoining his party. As Suho and his team entered the dungeon, a man observed them from a distance. Jeshik felt uneasy as he couldn't bring himself to tell Suho that his clan had been disbanded and that 2 of his clanmates had left under the guise of needing medical treatment. The collapse of a clan is common when its core members are gone. Level 0 clans are often formed and dissolved easily, and the high stress levels caused by the work environment often led members to quit working as mercenaries. Meanwhile, Sooyoung was on her way to Suho's group after receiving the location from Mizo. Inside the dungeon, Myungjin used his new skill, Dragon Charge, to kill multiple monsters, while Junho was causing a massacre among the monsters. Dingsu warned Junho about a monster attacking him from behind, which Junho easily killed while smiling. Suho was pleased with how well his group was performing. On Jeshik's side, his team was in a state of panic and had accidentally injured him with a skill. Jeshik watched as his team was being eaten by monsters, feeling envious of Suho's group and believing they would not let him join their team. After exiting the dungeon, Suho's team was greeted by a man named Myungwoo, who introduced himself as a member of the BDG Guild. Dingsu was surprised because it was a level 5 guild in Area 4 and the owner of the portal they had just completed. The guild was ranked 20th in the country. Myungwoo told them that they were in the same area and offered them a small gift, which was a free entrance to one of their level 2 dungeons. Dingsu was happy, as it would have cost them a lot of money to enter a level 2 dungeon. Junho was hesitant and suggested that they should prepare first before going to a level 2 dungeon. Myungwoo reassured them that they would provide them with strategy notes and equipment as a gift. Suho told his group to go to the level 1 dungeon to improve their teamwork and that he would go to the level 2 dungeon alone for efficiency. Myungwoo smiled upon hearing this and the group agreed. Before Suho entered the level 2 dungeon, he offered Myungwoo a drink when he came out. Myungwoo agreed and urged Suho to hurry. After Suho entered the dungeon, Sooyoung arrived and asked Myungwoo where Suho was. She then quickly ran towards the portal and entered it. Inside the dungeon, Suho was surveying the area when Sooyoung appeared and told him not to look as her clothes were destroyed by the portal. She used her bracelet to summon a new outfit but noticed Suho watching her. She called him a pervert, but Suho reminded her that she had also seen him naked when he came out of the portal, making them even. Suho then asked why she was there. She replied that she had been sent as his guardian. Suho was surprised, thinking they would send a more competent person. She insisted that she was capable and that her mission was to evaluate Suho's skills. Suho told her not to interfere with his targets as an orc appeared behind him. She recognized it as an orc warrior and thought it was the dungeon boss, but Suho told her that 4 bosses were approaching them. She was skeptical because they were in a level 2 dungeon. Suho explained that this was not a level 2 dungeon based on what he felt upon entering the portal and questioned her capabilities. She made an excuse as Suho charged towards the enemy, warning her not to touch his prey. Suho knocked down the orc and grabbed its axe, delivering the killing blow. Another orc appeared and Suho threw the axe, hitting it in the head and killing it instantly. One of the orcs was unaware as Suho dropped down on it. Outside, Myungwoo was requesting payment and expressing doubt that Suho would be able to come out of the dungeon alive. Meanwhile, Suho killed an orc by crushing its head, saying that it didn't matter what level the dungeon was, he would just have to kill them all, as another orc charged towards him. Suho evaded the orc's attack and delivered a kick to its head, sending it flying. He received achievement points and handed his bag to Sooyoung, telling her to help him collect the blood crystals from the orcs. She thought that Suho had only F-rank experience, but she observed no hesitation in his hunting routine and thought he was a psychopath. She reminded him that even though he killed 4 boss-ranked monsters, the gate did not appear and there were only stones inside the bag. She explained that this was a level 4 dungeon and it would be difficult for them to leave even if they worked together. Suho believed that Myungwoo had assisted him by allowing him to enter a level 4 dungeon without charge. Sooyoung, however, believed Suho to be foolish. As an orc attacked her, she realized she had left her sword outside. Suho arrived and quickly defeated the orc, telling her not to worry as he was strong, though he had been stronger before. Sooyoung was surprised by this revelation. As they heard something approaching, she used her skill of clairvoyance and saw an approaching army of orcs, causing her to curse. She informed him that an army of orcs, led by a warchief, was approaching. Suho was excited to hear this. As the orc riders arrived, Suho and Sooyoung charged at them. Suho quickly killed one of the riders, while Sooyoung summoned a sword and injured another. However, she was disappointed with the summoned sword and regretted leaving her primary weapon behind. Suho arrived and finished off the injured rider and then killed the others nearby. As Suho charged towards another group of orcs, he was hit by the orc warchief, causing him to fly backwards. He quickly regained his footing and attacked the warchief, managing to stab it, but it was not enough to kill it. The warchief hit Suho with its mace. Meanwhile, Kim Mizo was informed that Sooyoung and Suho's phones were in different locations and there had been no movement for the past hour. She was confused as she had thought that Sooyoung was with Suho. The assistant told her that Soo-young's phone was located near a recently opened level 5 dungeon. She asked why they had entered the dungeon and who was managing it. They discovered that the dungeon was being managed by the DGB Guild. She ordered them to check the dungeon records and tell the DGB to contact her immediately. Suho was sent crashing into a rock, but instead of feeling discouraged, he smiled at the challenge. He tackled one of the orcs and threw it into another. He picked up their weapons and used them to attack the orcs. Soo-young was targeted by the archers, but she skillfully dodged and used her defense bomb skill to kill the orcs that were approaching her. Suho grabbed her and told her they needed to run away. He carried her and jumped off a cliff. As they landed, several orcs fell to their deaths. Soo-young was confused about how they had survived such a fall as Suho let her go. They took shelter in a cave, and she asked him what his plan was. Suho said that he needed to kill 4 more orcs to level up, then he would attack. She told him that leveling up only increases one's limits, not their power. Suho explained that to him, leveling up is like removing his restrictions and can be considered a power-up. Outside the gate, the media was reporting on an accident involving Suho and Soo-young entering a level 5 gate. Suho's group was present, while Ding-soo was crying. Myung-woo was arrested and admitted to his crimes. Kim Mizo entered the director's office and demanded the arrest of all those involved. The director informed her that all suspects had been apprehended, except for the leader of the Dragon Loans who had fled and had a bounty on his head. Kim Mizo felt guilty as she was the one who had sent Soo-young to tail Suho. In the dungeon, Suho used his fairy to lure one of the orcs and ambushed it. He smiled, as he only needed 3 more kills to level up. Soo-young warned Suho that there was an orc ahead, but he quickly dashed away before she could tell him it was a trap. The orc triggered a trap, sending Suho flying backwards. The orc then signaled for others to emerge from their hiding spots. Suho struggled to stand up, realizing that his senses were dulling and he was losing strength. Soo-young shouted that he had been starving for 2 days as she killed the approaching orcs with her skills and then collapsed on the ground. Suho picked up a weapon and killed 2 orcs. He attempted to kill another to level up, but was again attacked by the war chief, causing him to hit another orc as they fell. Suho's weapon fell on the orc, killing it and causing him to level up. A message popped up asking him to activate the skill beast transformation. The war chief approached the weakened Soo-young and prepared to attack. In the Suho clan, House Granny was feeding Baekdu. Suho used his beast transformation skill, and Granny was shocked to see Baekdu floating and shining. Suho began to transform as Soo-young fought the war chief. She was hit and fell to the ground. Suho charged in his werewolf form and relentlessly attacked the war chief, hitting it multiple times and finally finishing it with a bite to its neck. Soo-young was afraid, thinking that Suho had lost his senses. But Suho responded with a bark and she realized that he had transformed into a dog, not a wolf. Outside, the media reported that it had been 3 days since Suho and Soo-young's disappearance. The director explained that they had entered a level 5 dungeon known as Ark Castle, where it was recommended to bring a party of 30 members with a B rank or with 10 A ranks. Suho returned to human form and discovered that it wasn't a transformation, but a fusion. He invited Soo-young to eat, but she told him that it was pointless and that this place would be their grave. She explained that even though the war chief had died, the door was not opening, indicating that there were stronger monsters inside. Suho asked what kind of monster made her lose hope. She remembered an incident from 3 years ago when they had raided a level 5 dungeon with a 20-man combat team and 10 A-ranked mercenaries. Soo-young was asked by a man if her ankles were okay, while Kim Mizo teased them from behind. As they struggled in battle, the man saved Soo-young by using his skills. Kim Mizo ordered them to retreat, and as they were running, Soo-young felt something targeting them. Suddenly, Taehoon's arm was cut off and his sword fell beside her. Everyone was shocked as they saw the boss finish Taehoon off, and Soo-young cried. Suho comforted her after hearing her story. Outside the gate, many people thought that Suho and Soo-young had died. Many higher rankers are gathering as they plan for revenge. Akita Hiro was watching as he thought what they are doing is stupid. In the cave, after they finished eating, Suho asked if she was the one who defeated the Orc Lord. She replied no as she fainted on the spot and woke up in the hospital, while Mizo brought her Taehoon's sword. 2 A-ranked mercenaries died to defeat the Orc Lord. It was capable of defeating 5 Orc warchiefs at the same time. Suho asked where is the Orc Lord. She assumed it was in a castle. Suho's fairy returned and told her they found the Orc castle. Suho and Soo-young saw the castle gate open and charged towards it. The orcs fired arrows, but Soo-young used her shield to block them, and they managed to enter before the gate closed. Once inside, Soo-young blasted the orcs blocking their path and charged towards one of the spires. The orcs jumped towards them, and she was hit by an orc and fell. However, she told Sooho to continue and not to worry about her. As she fell on the edge, Soo-young prepared herself to battle the approaching orcs. The orc leader sensed something amiss and stood up abruptly, but Sooho quickly appeared, biting and attacking its neck. The orc leader fell onto one of the spires, impaling itself. The spire collapsed, crushing the orcs beneath it. Soo-young used her abilities to destroy another spire. She thought she was going to die as she fell, but Sooho quickly caught her and brought her safely to the ground. She was amazed at how quickly Sooho had taken down the orc leader. Sooho instructed her to search for the door. As the clock began counting down to the dungeon's collapse, Soo-young located the door and guided Sooho to it. They had only 10 minutes left before the door burst, and the orcs were still in pursuit. Sooho then caught a scent and discovered a cage containing wolves. Using his ability to tame animals, he commanded the pack to follow him and devised a plan to escape the dungeon with them. With orcs closing in on them, the fairy informed Sooho of another exit nearby. They found it and successfully made it out of the castle. They could see the door with just 23 seconds left before the collapse. Suddenly, one of the orcs threw a spear and hit Soo-young in the back, causing her to fall. Sooho quickly ran back and killed the orc. With only 8 seconds left, people outside were already weeping. Sooho picked up Soo-young and urged her to hold on. He sprinted with all his might towards the exit gate. The gate closed just as the world inside was destroyed. As the countdown reached its end, those outside lost all hope. However, the people were surprised as a pack of wolves emerged from the portal, followed by Sooho and Soo-young falling to the ground. The crowd rushed towards them. The news quickly spread that the two individuals who were trapped in the level 5 dungeon had returned alive after 4 days and 11 hours. Kim Mizo was in a briefing about what happened, and the news about Park Sooho have spread due to the incident. The scouts from different countries arrived in the country, and they were thinking of ways to secure Sooho. The doctor assured that as long as Sooho's family is in Korea, he will not leave and attaches value in spending time with his family. He advised to give Sooho a territory where he can live with his family and not invade it. The director agreed. Kim Mizo suggested a location, the abandoned facility in Namyangju, and found it the most suitable area for the Sooho Guild as their territory and decided to keep Soo-young to watch over Sooho. In the SPFC arena, Akita Hero was introduced as a black flame was spreading on his sword. He jumped to stage as the crowd cheered. The Challenger S-rank human weapon is Michael Zorba's. Zorbas entered the stage and immediately attacked with a punch, destroying the area, but Hero dodged. Zorbas followed with a mono-Gatling wild shot, while Hero evades his attacks. Hero then counterattacks, putting Zorbas on the defensive and taking his own sword and swinging, but Hero easily dodges his attacks. Hero attacked Zorbas multiple times, but Zorbas didn't notice it. Zorbas then caught Hero with his chains. Binding him, Zorbas tried to attack, but Hero told him that he was already dead. Zorbas suddenly fall down, blood pouring everywhere. The medics came in but failed to rescue Zorbas. A woman welcomed Hero into his office, and he explained that Zorbas will be one of the 7 villains in the future, which is why he killed him. She then informed him about the person that got trapped in a level 5 dungeon had succeeded in getting out, and that he may be the second coming of Lee Sung-woo in Korea. Even the Department of Defense is interested in him. Hero was curious and asked who was it. She replied that it was Park Sooho. Hero can't remember him. She then said that he was Druid and returner from a 4th planet. Hero thought that it will not happen. He was in his 25th regression and repeated the same events over and over for 500 years. As a result, he remembers all the Awakener who will make a name for themselves in the future and a general outline of major events that will happen, but Park Sooho is not on that list. He doubts that Sooho was a returner from a 4th planet, stating that history may change a little based on his actions, such as one of the 7 villains who will show his evil in 10 years suddenly dying and Akiko who should have died 2 years ago still safe and alive. But the major events like the time when a level 7 dungeon appeared or when the planet was connected to the 4th planet have never changed, and that is 5 years from now. A new planet won't appear before then. Hero was asked by Akiko to bring Sooho to their side, but he replied to wait. He knows the apocalypse is near and cities that once sheltered survivors are falling to monster invasions from dungeon breaches. The heroes among the evacuees chose Japan as their last hope for survival, so Hiro decided to build his base there, despite being labeled a traitor. He believes that by securing the dungeons and attracting talented individuals, Japan will become the best place for survivors. Upon arriving in Japan, refugees see Lee Sun-woo waiting for them, who hopes to be seen as a hero rather than a traitor by the Korean survivors. Hiro smiled at the thought. Hiro believes that Suho's actions are just for appearance and says they can bring him over after the apocalypse starts. Kim Mizo visits Soo-young in the hospital and asks about a rumored man who visits her every night, suspecting it to be Suho. Soo-young avoids the question and asks about the food. At the CIA headquarters, a man is shocked at the news of Hiro killing Zorbas, and his assistant speculates that Hiro may reach SSS rank. They are also observing Suho and notice he frequently visits the same location and appears to be talking to pigeons. The man at the CIA headquarters instructs his assistant to bring Suho to their site at all costs. The assistant informs him that agents have been sent to Korea, but the airways are unstable. On the plane, passengers see a young wyvern flying nearby, and the agents wonder if a wyvern dungeon has burst. They plan to contact HQ upon landing, but an adult wyvern suddenly breathes fire, causing the plane to crash. A news report states that a group of wyverns escaped during a dungeon break 2 days prior. Suho and his group arrive at their new headquarters. Soo-young complains about a ghost in the house and expresses her concern to Kim Mizo. Kim Mizo tells Suho they will renovate the house, but Suho thinks it's fine and wants to move in right away. Soo-young asks him if he's crazy, but Kim Mizo intervenes and discusses establishing territorial boundaries. Kim Mizo explains that Suho can choose the amount of land he will manage. Suho summons his spirits, and when Kim Mizo questions what he's doing, Soo-young informs her that he's setting territorial boundaries. The tree spirits grow trees that form a wall around their territory, astonishing everyone with its size. Suho states it covers a radius of 1 kilometer with the house at the center. Kim Mizo says everything within the territory will belong to the Suho Guild. Suho asks why they are being so accommodating when he only needs to stay in the country for a few months. Kim Mizo replies that the bureau treats Suho like family. Suho is pleased. Kim Mizo hands him a contract to sign, but Soo-young advises him to read it thoroughly before signing, before Kim Mizo pulls her away. Kim Mizo leaves, and during the car ride, the driver asks her if the Suho clan can manage such a big territory. Mizo answers that if they can't, the bureau can use it as an excuse to send in their own people. She orders to make a list of attacking units over a certain level and have them ready. In the next scene, a cargo ship is being attacked by pirates who are asking for help. As the pirates board the ship, they suddenly see their boat being thrown into the air and multiple tentacles wrapping around the ship, causing it to capsize. One of the crew members sees a shark-like monster swallowing him, and a group of monsters are shown surrounding the sea. The rescue team arrives but finds no sign of the ship, and the tentacles attack them. Meanwhile, Suho was giving names to his wolves. He realized that if they had more dimensional energy than him, he could potentially lose his sanity during fusion. Soo-young showed up and Suho asked her to join him on a walk. He transformed and offered her a ride. Reporters were outside, waiting for updates on the Suho clan when Ding-soo and Junho passed by. Ding-soo noticed that his channel was receiving donations from various countries and pondered whether to inform Suho. The two of them saw Suho and Soo-young and challenged them to a race, but Soo-young suddenly sensed a dimensional crack within a 200-meter radius. Soo-young remembered her previous conversation with Suho, in which she asked about the type of planet he visited. He replied that it was an animal kingdom filled with hostile creatures with dimensional energy levels above 700. Soo-young was taken aback by this information. The planet was a place where battles for territory and survival never ceased until death, and to lead a group, one had to be at least U rank. Even when Suho became king, he had to face challenges for hundreds of years. Soo-young realized that if a bridge portal connected the planet and allowed unrestricted travel in both directions, it would turn into a war zone as they fought against hostile beings from another world with S-rank dimensional energy. She was puzzled when she discovered that Suho couldn't control the animals on that planet, even though he was its king. Suho explained that he is no longer the same person as he was before, and that the animals may kill him if they saw how weak he had become. Soo-young advised Suho to flee to the northeastern field as far from the city center as possible. Ding-soo and Junho followed them as the space started to distort. Soo-young contacted Kim Mizo and informed her that the portal was about to form. An artillery brigade was quickly assembled near Suho's location. However, Sooho soon realized that it was not the planet he had been on before, but just an ordinary portal door. Sooyoung asked how he could be sure without using any equipment. Sooho explained that he was certain as it felt different from the portal he had previously passed through. Sooyoung remembered that the dimensional energy of the teleportation portal Sooho went through was higher than that of a portal bridge. Reporters observed a signal of a dimensional crack as the Awakener's bureau